Hello friends, it's Unicorn Princess here, and we have a subject to get into today. I'm sure most people have seen by this point that Jenna Marbles has decided to leave YouTube, possibly forever, ahead, I guess, of her own potential cancelling. And there's a lot of argument about whether or not she should have done it. Some people are like, oh yeah, you should dip out to acknowledge the things you did in your past, and other people are like, hey man, it was years ago, we don't care. And the whole thing just left like a really bad taste in my mouth because I hate cancel culture. I hate it. I think it's one of the worst modern phenomenons ever. One of them. So I just wanted to talk to you about my feelings about cancel culture and just have like, I don't know, a semi-chill, semi-raging chat about cancel culture. Let's get into it. One of my biggest pet peeves about cancel culture is that it does not allow for people to grow and change. It is a fact of life that people become more cultured and aware as they get older. So when I was a kid, I didn't have social media at all, so I could have done or said or behaved in any number of ways that now would not be seen as acceptable. Lucky for me, if I ever did any of those things, none of them have a permanent footprint in media. But now, all the young people and people that have been on social media for a long time are having to come out and apologize for things they said or did like 10 years ago, which I think is ridiculous and just nuts. So take Jenna Marbles as an example. If she did things wrong when she was young, she did them in 2011. It's 2020. You know, if you look at her career, you can see all of the ways in which she has matured and become more enlightened or intelligent. So I don't think it is necessary for people to go after those things in her past. And like, it's one of the biggest hypocrisies of cancel culture. I feel like the aim of cancel culture is to find people that are not good people. They're people who do not fit the current status quo of acceptable or moral behavior, and the act of cancelling forces them to acknowledge the wrongs that they have done and gives them consequences for their actions. And I believe the overall goal, at least initially, in cancelling someone is that that person will learn from the consequences of their actions, that what they did were mistakes, they were bad, and then grow and change and become a more acceptable member of society. I feel like that is the goal, the underlying goal, the idea of cancel culture. But it's total hypocrisy. How woke and tolerant can you really be if your one aim is to dig out something somebody did a decade ago and then use it against them? How does that make you a good person? How does digging out things that people wrote when they were 13, posts they made when they were kids, opinions they clearly, contextually no longer hold? Where is the moral or social value in just, you know, finding people, exposing them to the mob, and then, you know, pitchforks and fire, that person is now to be burned at the stake? I think it's incredibly intolerant and hypocritical to not acknowledge and appreciate how people grow, and that ultimately the best way to get people to be not racist, not sexist, not bigoted, whatever, is to educate them and extend an olive branch. People do not listen when you're shouting at them. People don't respond to you when you're being hostile. People will come to your side of thinking if you are civil and humane with them, and then they will understand on a level playing field. If you truly want to change the way that people think and people feel, the way forward is not aggressive and negative and all of this stuff. It is to try to meet someone halfway and understand each other. Through friendship, let's say. Certain things in life need to be pushed, you know, that you need to act, that you need to be a little bit more forceful or a bit more reactive. Take, for example, the protests and the Black Lives Matter stuff right now. I am not supportive of violence of any kind. However, I have to acknowledge that the police have only started to respond, the government has only started to respond when riots started. That's not right, but in terms of whether it's working or not, in this case, the riots and the violence are the only things that are making a change. Unfortunate but true. But I don't think that that is the way we should generally do things. I think that we should always be trying to be friends and reach out and understand each other, and not aggressively go after witch burnings. And that's the other thing. Cancel culture is so self-righteous. Like, I'm going to stand on a platform somewhere anonymously and say this person's a bad person, and I think that whatever they did, whenever they did it, however long ago it was, however much a different person they may or may not be, I think their career should be over and they should not be allowed a platform to speak, and I want everyone else to come with me and sabotage this person's life. I'm sure you guys will remember the stuff with Zoe Quinn. Just as a more extreme example of how badly cancel culture can go, I don't think that somebody killing themselves is the outcome that anybody wants, ever. And if it is the outcome that you want, you need to evaluate your priorities and possibly your own health. And this is one of the main things about cancel culture that drives me totally bonkers, and it's offense. I'm offended, I'm offended. Because I'm offended, you should be cancelled. Because I'm offended, you should have to do something to grovel and apologize to me. I hate that. There is a phrase that says offense is taken, not given. So the act of being offended is something that you are doing in response to something. Somebody does not hand you offense. I'm not saying that people can't be rude, but it is your choice to decide how you react to that. And people have become more than soft. Soft is not an accurate word for it. People are unable to take criticism. They are unable to hear no in many respects. It's just, you know, the minute somebody is offended, my God, the world is absolutely over. And the thing about offense is that we don't change things because of offense. Not really. Like, things don't change because you've been offended. Generally, that's not how things have worked. Things like laws changing, the rights of women, the ending of slavery, those things did not become a thing because people were offended. They became a thing because people could recognize that other people were being treated as lesser than human. That is like a tangible physical thing. Whereas if you tell me I'm ugly, I can be offended, sure, but you haven't taken my rights away, you haven't physically hurt me, you haven't put me in danger by telling me these things, you've just potentially hurt my feelings, and even then that is my choice. I can choose to be hurt by some stranger telling me I'm ugly, or I can acknowledge that I don't know this stranger, they don't know me, so why should their words carry any weight? If somebody wants to insult me or hurt me, and they're my friend or my family, then yeah, okay, maybe there's a discussion to be had there about being offended or being hurt. But context is important. You have to consider, is it worth being offended? And even if you are offended, so what? So what if you're offended? Have all of your fields and crops withered and died? Have the heavens opened and now there is a plague of fire and locusts and you're burning to death from the inside because of this offense? No. I like this comparison with vaccines. So in order to try not to get an illness or whatever, you can go and get a vaccine. And the majority of vaccines have a little bit of the virus or the illness or whatever in them that they put into your body so that your body can register and acknowledge that this particular thing is a danger to your body. And then it gives you the vaccine and you heal. If you were just given the vaccine without the virus, your body would never learn how to protect itself from pathogens and diseases. So you need to be in contact with the nasty things in order to learn how to battle them. It's important for us to rub shoulders with offense and upset and all of those kind of things, because it teaches us how to respond. It teaches us how to be well-rounded. This is why things like comedy are important. That's a whole other video. Comedy is dying. It's very sad, but you need to be involved with people that you disagree with. You need to see people who have different opinions, who talk differently from you, who feel differently from you. This is how important conversations and change and progress happen. You need to be around these things. You can't just shout and scream and cry every time you see something and you go, I don't like that, take it away. How spoiled. I saw this response underneath Jenna Marbles' video, and I wrote it down because I could feel my guts twisting when I read it, so I thought I need to re-say this to people. It says, I'm willing to leave it in the past as long as she has truly changed her ways. How self-righteous and high horse and perfect are you? You know, whoever you are, people like you. What, you've never done anything in your life that was a bit risque or that you would consider not doing now? Something that you did in your youth that you're so embarrassed about that you really hope people don't remember? How dare you sit so high and mighty and say to people, I'll forgive you as long as A, B, and C. How absolutely ridiculous. First of all, just in this case, Jenna Marbles owes you nothing. She makes content, you absorb it. That is where the line is drawn there. She owes you nothing. If she had done things in her past that she was willing to acknowledge and say, I do not represent these things anymore, that's it. That's where the line should be drawn there. If she wanted to do that, then fine. But I don't think it's necessary at all. Anyway, my point is, everybody makes mistakes. Mistakes are an integral, important part of how we grow as people. We would not develop and change and progress if we did not also make mistakes. So even in circumstances where people have said or done things in the past that they no longer identify with, that contextually they clearly have grown up, they have grown out, it is not necessary to even bring that up, you know. And the idea of cancelling people because of something they said or did years ago, or something that they said or did, period, unless it's something obviously terrible or illegal, like, I don't know, rallying people to violence. I just think that cancel culture is so ridiculously unnecessary, and I also think that it's incredibly cruel, like terribly cruel. People change with time and they should be allowed to change and grow with time, and no mob anywhere with fire and pitchforks should be allowed to decide or affect their fate, because that's just like, you know, it's witch burning shit, isn't it? You know, this person's a witch, this person did some stuff that I don't like, that I don't agree with. Doesn't matter if it's true, doesn't matter what the context is, doesn't matter when it was, they did it, and I want their life to be destroyed because of it. Anybody who wants to reduce that and say that that's just the repercussions for their actions, first of all, that's not true at all. That's not the repercussions of their actions. That's the repercussion of your actions, and you are dealing out pain. People will always suffer the repercussions of their actions. It might not be in the way that you see or the way that you expect, but even if it's just, you know, social response, they are still dealing with the repercussions of their actions. I touched on a couple of things in this topic that I really want to talk about more. I would like to talk about pandering. I've got a lot to say about that. I would also like to talk about genuine systematic issues, possibly not in the way that you think that I would talk about them. But anyway, that's how I feel about cancel culture. Let me know what you guys think about Jenna Marbles, the whole situation, the idea of cancel culture. Let me know what you think. Please be civil in the comments. if I haven't expressed this enough already, I can't stand the bickering and the, you know, shouting and screaming at each other. It gets us nowhere. It's not progressive, it's not helpful. Let me know what you think of this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. A huge thank you to my heart tier patrons, Fluffy Kawaii Joe, Fabby Dabby Doo, Crystal, Aziza, and Jamaica. You guys are awesome. Thank you again very much for being here, and I hope I will see you guys next time.